So we're gonna start. I want to ask all the ayas to come here, and then we can share your histories. Oscar, Oscar, Cory, Daniela, Sasha, Mari, Simon, Judith. You want to come? You want to go? You want to join us? What's the age limit? It's 40, no? The age limit's 40? 39. Bah. Well, actually, we have more patients. They are from around the world. We have another patient who's coming from Canada. We have another patient who's coming from UK, Mexico. Some of them, because of the time, yeah, it's quite different. So they made a video, and they're gonna also explain their own histories. So you think we start with Lauren and Celeste, that they are online? We start with Lauren first. Yeah, because she needs to leave, and then we're gonna continue with Celeste. Lauren, I don't see her. Well, we start with Celeste because Lauren, she's not here. Hi, Celeste, welcome.
Hi, good morning for everyone.
Thanks for
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Special shout out to Celeste because it's 3 a.m.
Yeah, thanks for exactly.
I think I look sleepy even. I'm very sorry. I put some makeup on, but I don't think it arranged and solved my problems. No, not at all.
You look perfect, don't worry. So Celeste,
Thank you so much.
thank you for joining us, and we would like you to explain a bit of your story, how it started, how you are, how you feel. So if you want to go ahead, please.
Sure. So my story is very particular because everything started with my mom actually having some symptoms, always feeling tired, very dizzy sometimes, having bone pain because of course with the winter here in Canada, we live in Montreal, we can reach minus 20 degrees during winter. So we started getting worried for her. Me too, I was feeling the same symptoms, big migraines. We both have thrombocythemia, essential thrombocythemia. And then she went to the doctor and did a couple of tests, and then she came out with the result that she had essential thrombocythemia, which I was in a big denial at first because I was like, impossible, mom, you have nothing. I did a blood test too, and my platelets are high. I don't think you are sick or you have any of these, because of course at first when we start learning about the disease, right, or how I like to call it, a syndrome, to me it's more like a syndrome. And at first I was a little bit on denial, and then when we went through some tests for myself, because then I went to see my doctor and told him, look, I'm having the same symptoms. My mom, she got this diagnosis. Is it possible that I have the same? Unfortunately, in the past, I got a lot of gaslighting with multiple doctors telling me that I was having these symptoms because I had hormonal problems, which I never went through any hormonal test. You hear me?
Yes, now.
Yeah. Where did this video stop?
With the hormonal test.
Yeah, the hormonal test.
Okay. Yeah. So so often I will be told that, for example, my platelet count was very high because of COVID. Then it was because I had a flu. So I was always misdiagnosed until finally my mom got her diagnosis, right? So the way I deal with this disease, at first it was very hard for me, I'm not gonna lie. I was scared, very afraid of what was coming for me. However, once I accepted and I started learning more and more and get in touch with the Out Blood Club, I have to thank the Out Blood Club because we have a very nice community. I felt very comfortable. Now I'm actually talking about my disease openly. At first, I wasn't comfortable at all. Having my mom, with my mom having the same as me, we also help each other a lot. So we're partners on this. Sometimes I tell my mom that it had to be me because we are three siblings. Thank God my siblings went through tests, and so far they haven't found anything on them. Okay, but I always tell my mom it had to be me because I'm the best person to deal this with my mom. So um, I don't know what else to say. I think sometimes if you are, it's a shock, right, at first to go through this. And I think the best we can do is to have each other's back in this community. And second, I will advise if you feel that maybe it's a shock for yourself, maybe getting some therapy. I did therapy myself at first. And now I'm just journaling, participating in others' activities, and learning a lot from doctors. Thank God for doctors, because without you guys, we will be lost. So that will be my experience so far. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Thank you very much, Celeste. I appreciate your how do you say this? Your speech.
Testimony.
Yeah, your testimony. Thank you. And it's what you said. The meaning of that you are here with all the other guys is because we want to make a big community, to give you voice, to give you a place where you can explain how you feel, and of course to make like a family, because it's what you said, as much as we talk about this, better you're gonna feel. And yeah, you're not alone. That's the big thing I want to say. So thank you very much. So we're gonna continue. Judith, it's your time.
Hi, it's working? Yes. Hi, my name is Judith. I have primary myelofibrosis. Today I'm 24 years old, and I was diagnosed back in 2020 during COVID, and I was 18 years old, and because of the restrictions and all that, I had to deal with it alone. Like, my mother couldn't come to me to the hospital, to doing the biopsy, so it was a bit scary. And then I have been 3 years like only seeing without any treatment, but then in 2023, I've always had like a punch in the splenomegaly. So well, in 2023, my platelets went up to 1.5 million, and I started with Idrea and Pegasus. Didn't work for me, and then only Pegasus. It was horrible because of depression and anxiety. I always had mental health problems, and I didn't thought it would be that hard to take Pegasus, but it destroyed me. And now I'm with my psychiatrist and also doing the well-being project. And right now I'm very good emotionally, and I'm in control, and I have been 1 year with Ruxo. But it's that since 2023, I have been every 2 weeks to the hospital to do blood tests, and blood tests, and blood tests, and trying. So it's been hard because going as a young patient to the hospital and seeing all the people doing the chemo and like fighting more than us because we look normal and as we don't have anything, like we don't have anything. But it's that now I'm taking like a lot of medicines. I'm trying to reduce all of my side. It's working, yes, it's working. And that's all. I don't know what else to say, but that's a summary of my story.
I think it's perfect, Judith. The thing is that I would like to make you introduce yourself in a small and short speech, so we can use a lot of time to ask questions to the doctors, professors, and so make an open discussion. Okay, so it's perfect, Judith. Thank you very much. Mari, it's your time.
So hi, I am Maricruz. Yesterday I shared a little bit of my story already.
I'm 27 now. I was 24, if I'm not mistaken, when I was diagnosed. I'm originally from Costa Rica. I was living in Vienna at that time, and it was by coincidence that I went to like the annual check of my blood, and they saw that the platelets were very high. And I was feeling okay, and I'm very like relaxed with this kind of stuff. So I was like, yeah, whatever, I'm okay, I feel all right. And my roommate is a little bit hypochondriac, so she was like, no, you should go to a hematologist, you should follow all the instructions. And then thanks to her, because if not, probably I wouldn't have known that I got PV. So it was a very odd process because I didn't have family around. I didn't even get completely what was going on. I was just like following instructions. Okay, go for a genetic test, then for the bone marrow biopsy. But I never, I don't know, like I was not, I didn't want to understand fully what was going on, but I never imagined that if I Google it, I would have the word cancer as a result. So I just finished with all like the process. Then the doctor started like discussing if it was better to take Pegastis or if it was better Besremi. Besremi was developed in Vienna, so actually that was very convenient. And I started it like 2 years ago, and it has been so good so far in like the physical and more like health part, but in the psychological and more emotional side, it was a mess. So I got diagnosed, and the whole first year I was in complete denial. I don't know, I feel it was just like my coping mechanism. So I was like, nah, no, everything's fine, I'm healthy. And little by little, that made me feel like super isolated, and without noticing, I'm like very energetic all the time, but I was like really going deep down into like this dark hole of feeling lonely, of feeling like a lot of envy for all my friends that they were calling me like, oh yeah, Mari, I have this huge problem. I don't know if I'm gonna travel to whatever country this year. And I was like, how can I be a good friend when I need to tell them they're not real problems, I'm facing something very different. So it really affected me in an emotional way. And that's when I also, as Celeste said, I think it's as important it is to maintain ourselves healthy in a physical way, it also is to maintain ourselves like very strong in the mental way. So I'm a very spiritual person, so that helped me a lot. But at the same time, I thought, okay, I really need to get serious in my therapy. And my therapist was actually the one telling me, look, the reality it's gonna sound a little bit harsh, but this illness, it's not really gonna kill you right now, but your mindset is. And that was like very shocking at the beginning, but then I realized it's right. You know, like I'm okay, I don't have like very bad symptoms, but what it's really affecting my life, it's the way I'm living and the way I see it mentally, but not really physically. And then that's how Odd Blood started, actually, out of like pure desperation of just trying to find someone that I could relate to. And then I'm a digital designer, and I thought, okay, medical stuff, it's a little bit dense. Cancer needs a rebranding because, you know, like, it's not just the idea that we have of cancer of like death and bald people. Actually, it's a huge umbrella, and they're all valid. So I started the Instagram account just to find someone else where I could connect to. And organically, it started growing, and then I realized, okay, wow, it's more people than I expected. And yeah, little by little, it's funny because I have started like other communities where I'm like really thinking about like, oh, the strategy and how can I make it better? And this one was just like, I just want a friend. And little did I know, 1 year after that, I was going to be here sitting down with friends, with some merch, giving out stickers. So yeah, I feel so grateful. That really became the best medicine I could find. So I realized how important it is to have support from each other. And yeah, like to knowing that controlling the mindset can even affect more of whatever symptoms or treatment you're taking. So yeah, that's a little bit of my journey. As I told you yesterday, now I'm struggling with what I'm gonna do here because of the bureaucracy, and I'm not a resident, I'm not a European resident, so the social insurance is also a problem, but that's another story. I want the others to talk. But yeah, we have stickers, we have t-shirts, so if you want to get some, please just take a look. Thank you very much, and thank you all of you, because Odd Blood exists thanks to the support of everyone here and online. And I'm just grateful to know that if the illness is already helping just one person to go through it, it's already worth it. So really, thank you for all the support.
Cory, you want to try?
I can read.
Daniela? Okay.
I'm a little bit nervous, but
It's okay.
so my name is Daniela. I'm from Portugal. I'm very recently diagnosed, so say 5 months ago. I'm 33 years old. I have a baby with 20 months now, and in the end of May, I feel very bad, like I'm having a stroke. I couldn't speak. I have like paresthesia in my arms and my neck, so I get very scary because I'm a nurse. I was working on the hospital in that day, so I was immediately assisted by my colleagues. I do all the tests, all the image tests, everything is okay. And in my blood tests, we found more than 4 million of platelets. Yeah, it was a lot. So 1 year before I have my baby, and everything was okay with my blood tests. So it was very scary for me. But for me, the worst is the time that I have to wait to have my results, because I can do immediately the biopsy because I have a lot of platelets. It was not safe to do it. So I wait. And that time was most difficult for me because I'm a nurse, I have some knowledge, so it was very scary. But after my diagnosis, I think I found a purpose. I searched for groups because in Portugal we don't have much information about this disease. We are a small country, so less people have the disease. And young people, I don't found anyone until today. So I think the purpose that I found was to help other people. Because I found the group, the MPN Spain, and then I get in connect with Odd Blood Club. That helped me a lot because I saw other people with my age, with the experience, they can share their story, and that tranquilized me a lot because I was very scary with my diagnosis. I have ET triple negative. So it's been a long journey, but I think I'm okay. I really don't have quite symptoms. I only feel tired sometimes and dizziness, but I consider that I'm okay and almost normal than when I was before I know my diagnosis. So now I'm adjusting my medication. I still on Hydrea because I have high levels of platelets, and with Pegasus for about 4 months, and I'm feeling very well. Yeah, and that's it. Sorry, I'm very nervous.
So, Cory, you want to try?
Okay. Anyone else? So, my name is Cory. I'm very nervous, so sorry. I'm 30 years old. I was diagnosed with ET with the calreticulin type 2 mutation. It started back when I was 24 years old. I actually was having issues with my heart, so my heart rate would go up to 220, 230 beats per minute, which is very high. From just, sitting here, it's probably doing that right now. But so I went to the doctor, and they decided to do an ablation where they inserted a catheter to fix my heart. And when they were doing the blood work before the surgery, they found that my platelets were borderline. So they said, everything's okay. A month after the surgery, I had the follow-up blood work, and the platelets were a little bit high. So they're like, oh, maybe it's from the surgery. And then it kept going and kept going. So I went to see a hematologist, and they did the ultrasound first to rule out everything else it could be. And finally, I had the bone marrow biopsy, and I was diagnosed with ET. That was when I was 26. So I was taking aspirin for 2.5, 3 years. And I see another specialist, MPN specialist in the city. And they said, your platelets, they'll stop. There's a point where they'll keep going. And then it was 1.5 million, 2 million, 2.5 million, and almost 3 million. So my spleen was large, my liver was large, but I was still going to school, working full time. I work 2 jobs now. Everything was still fine. But for me, I didn't like the idea that everything was uncontrolled in my body. So I actually, looked at all the clinical trials, I printed out everything, and I went to the doctor and I said, I want to start treatment. And I was like, let's do the Pegasus. Let's, whatever we can do to start treating it, that's how I prefer to be. So I've been on Pegasus now since June, and my platelets have come down to 1.8 million. And still going. Symptomatic-wise, I feel okay. I was never really vocal about any of this, especially, what everyone else has said. From the outside, everyone looks normal, and it's hard to explain a disorder that's not easily presentable. So I had so much support from my fiance and my family, my friends, but once I had to begin treatment, I think that's when it was actually pretty scary because I didn't know how I was going to respond. So I found the Odd Blood Club, which found the foundation and has caused me to be more vocal. I mean, this is the most vocal I think I've ever been in my life. And on that note, so that's where I am today, and I'm grateful really for this opportunity and for meeting everyone. And I'm going to give the microphone to someone else now.
Sasha, no. Finish with Sasha and Matt, and then we start with the men's. Sorry. Ladies first.
Hi, I'm Sasha. I'm 34 years old, and I have Oh, my bad. Okay. Hi, I'm Sasha. I'm 34 years old. I have secondary myelofibrosis. I actually presented symptoms when I was 15, and I got gaslit so much by so many doctors. I was told things like it could be anxiety. We had just moved to Spain. I'm based here in Barcelona. And so then a doctor literally told me, you probably left your boyfriend in the States and now you're just sad. Because I was feeling extremely tired all the time. I was dizzy all the time. I started bleeding from my gums and everything. So until a doctor came, and I was almost 18, and she just did a blood test and my platelets were 1.5 million. And that's when I was sent to a hematologist. I first started with aspirin before the bone marrow biopsy and everything, and I just started hemorrhaging everywhere. And then they saw that I had acquired the von Willebrand, sorry if I'm saying that terribly, von Willebrand syndrome. So they had to stop that. Then I started on Hydrea. They told me as well it was essential thrombocythemia. I became resistant to Hydrea after 5 years, I believe. Then I got Chagrit, I think it was the other one. I went through another one that I haven't heard much of. It's called Intron A. At least that's what I remember they gave me, which was terrible side effects. Then I was on Pegasus, but I kept feeling worse and worse. And all of this was in 2010, by the way. I don't know if I said that already. So I started feeling worse and worse. And they saw that I actually have a rare autoinflammatory disease that only 1,000 people in the world have, called TRAPS. So the Pegasus was triggering all those terrible side effects, and I was just getting flare-ups after flare-ups. So that's when I went into another bone marrow biopsy, and that's when it showed that I now have myelofibrosis. So yeah, I was 10 years denial. I thought if I don't talk about it, if I don't think about it, I just go to the doctors, do my treatments, it will probably just go away, which was not good. It did not help my mental health. It didn't help they were saying you just feel very isolated at the end. So then this year I'm okay, I have to speak up about it. I have to try to be somewhat of an advocate because there might be others out there. And then that's when I found the Odd Blood Club, MPN Spain, and well, yeah, it's a little bit of my story. Oh, and I'm going to start Ruxo soon. Not
Great.
yet.
Perfect. Thank you, Sasha.
Hello, everyone. I'm Waad. I'm 33 years old from Saudi Arabia. I diagnosed with JAK2 mutation, AT, when I was 17. I have been on hydroxyurea and aspirin for almost 18 years. I start with the headaches. I was looking for answer for the headaches for 2 years until I diagnosed finally. The that's it. I studied, so I diagnosed when I was 17, so I studied biology. And I had a master's degree with the genetic, so I hope to work at lab research, like Dr. Tata lab. Yeah, I hope that. That's my dream now, to work at this experiment, excuse my English. That's it. So I have been with AT for 18 years, and I actually learned more in 2 days here when I come here, yeah, more than 18 years. So thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Oscar, it's your time.
Okay. Hi guys, I'm Oscar. I'm 32 now. I was diagnosed in 2022 when I was 29. My platelets were rising in 2020 in a physical checkup, so they sent me to a hematologist, and I was just on aspirin every day until in 2022 July I started having headaches and dizziness. So I went back to the hematologist. He just put me on hydroxyurea. It wasn't working, but I mean, he couldn't do anything else. So I was on it, and then he just told me it was PV for some reason. I don't know. Didn't do any tests or anything. And then the headaches and dizziness were so bad I couldn't play basketball, which is basically my life, body's life. So I went to a dinner with friends, and they were like, "Oh, what do you have?" I just gave them the name, the PV name, and they were like, "Oh, let me Google it." And then when they Googled it, it was like, "Oh, it's a rare blood cancer." And I was like so scared. I thought, my time in this world has come to an end. And I couldn't like research or anything, but I was just thinking to myself, if my time has come to an end, then what was my life about? The questions that I asked myself was, did my existence make my parents' lives better? Did I make my friends better? Did I make my community better, or did I make the world a better place by just existing in it? I wasn't sure. I couldn't say yes to the answers at that time when I was 29, but ever since then, I just felt like I live every day to make sure those answers are yes whenever my day has come. So yeah, that's just how I've been living every day. So ET might not take me out. Oh, by the way, I'm an ET patient. Sorry, I didn't mention that. ET might not take me out, but something else in life might. So I just want to make sure that I live to my purpose and make every day count. And about my symptoms. I started hydroxyurea, didn't have a lot of effect. So my dad was like, let's go to China, try traditional medicine. And I went there for a year. I was on traditional herbal medicine and PEG interferon alpha 2A for a year. And I think I had the worst symptoms I ever had when I was in that time period. So after that, I came back and I got started on, when I meant came back is like New York. So I went back to New York. I started on drug trial. That's a methotrexate I mentioned yesterday. And then it's been 6 months and I feel better. Almost no symptoms, no dizziness, headaches, or fatigue. And yeah, but the symptoms, even though people tell me that ET and NPNs might not kill me, I just felt like any time that I experienced those symptoms, I would transcend, my soul is going to transcend this world because it was so painful and so much suffering. And if I could get on my knees and beg a God or somebody to stop the symptoms, I would. But even the doctors at the time couldn't do anything besides just give me some, painkillers or something. But yeah, I then eventually found the courage to look up my condition, my MPN, and I found Mari's Obla Club and met Peter, Ingrid, Judith, and everybody, and it was so helpful for me. It also inspired my own journey of Instagram. I don't know if I told you guys, but I have an Instagram account. So Way of the Sword 222. But yeah, so that's my journey, and thank you very much for being here. And I appreciate Peter, Ingrid, and everybody here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, good
Hi,
morning.
Simon,
I've got
good
a
morning.
slide, actually. I don't know if it's possible
Yeah.
to put my slide up. spot the management consultant in the room. I've got a slide. Great. Yep, that was me. That's me. The photo will have relevance later, but I am sat in an ice bath. It's a metal tub full of about 70 kilos of ice and a bit of water. But I'll come on to that later. So hi, good morning, everybody, in the room and online as well. It's great to be here. Like others, it's so good to be here in the community and to kind of share our experience and our knowledge and to hear from the professionals and the physicians and the farmers as well. I'm so grateful. So my name's Simon Bevis. I'm from England. I'll call the elephant in the room out now. I do have a bit of grey in my beard. I'm not quite as young as the others here. I'm 42 years old, so I'm thinking maybe we could put like an M in the ayah for like middle-aged people, dare I say it. But we have different needs. We have different challenges. We have different stresses in this stage of life where we are. I have 2 young children, well, 11 and 6, so I have a young family. I have a I wouldn't say high-powered, but kind of quite good job, good profession. And yeah, I've got this condition which I'm trying to live with and juggle all these different things. And it is tricky, but it's been great the last few months, actually. I've got to say that. It's not all negative. There's a lot of positives to draw from that, and I'll try and touch upon that. So a bit about my condition first. So I was diagnosed with primary myelofibrosis 3 years ago. It was a chance diagnosis. I just basically went to the doctors to get a prostate check because I was 39 at the time, and my dad had been having a few prostate issues and said, "Oh yeah, you're nearly 40, Simon. You should go and get it checked out." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I like to have a baseline. I can measure that over time, see where I'm going." And this was Monday morning. I had a blood test, and that night, I was phoned up by the hospital. I was putting the kids in the bath, and my phone started ringing. I didn't answer. It rang again. I didn't answer. Third time, I thought, that's a bit odd. I'll answer. And it was the hospital saying, "We've got your blood test back. It's slightly abnormal. How's your heart?" I was like, "It's okay, but it's racing now." Okay, well, something's happened, and like your potassium level's so high, you should be like having a heart attack on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, now I'm really like racing heart. We need you to come to A&E immediately. So I was kind of putting the kids to bed at this point. My wife came upstairs and I said, look, I've just got to go. Gave her this look and called a taxi, packed a bag, and I was like, what is happening? And I got into A&E, had the classic UK A&E wait for a few hours, and kind of finally gave some blood. They did another little quick test. And they're like, oh yeah, it's come back still high in the magnesium, but we think it was just like a hematized sample or something, come back in a few days. I was like up on the 6 o'clock train to London the next morning, having got home at 2 a.m. Just like, well, that was a bit weird. Thought nothing of it, went to the GP the next day, gave some blood. It got a call that afternoon. Oh yeah, the blood samples come back from the extra tests. Yeah, it's not the potassium, it's actually your platelets. They're really high. We've referred you to oncology. No, we've referred you to hematology. They're very careful in this respect, actually. And the hematologist team called me as I was walking with my daughter, just back from school. Like, yeah, we'd like to come and see you. We'd like you to come in and see you. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine. And when? And like, tomorrow. I was like, okay. We are in oncology, but don't worry, it's hematology. It's okay. We're hematology, it's not oncology. I was like, okay, all right. I went along, kind of a bit like, oh my God, what is happening? And I get there, I saw this lovely locum consultant, sits me down and tells me my platelets are kind of really high, talks to me about this this bone marrow condition. And says, oh, let me just go and get some information. He goes out the room, comes back in, puts it down. Blood cancer UK. I was like, just nobody mentions this. Just something for physicians. I don't know if it's a tactical thing, kind of what you're taught, don't mention the C word. But it's a bit hard hitting. I was like, just tell me this. Don't like let me read it in the cold light of day on a brochure and then try and absorb it. So that was a bit of a shock. Initially they thought, well, so my symptoms at presentation or my platelets were like 3.3 million. They thought I had leukemia initially. Did a bone marrow biopsy the next week. 2 weeks later, they said, actually, it's not leukemia, it's an MPN, and we need to do further tests and wait for the bone marrow biopsy to come back. I was like, okay. well, that's good news. It's not leukemia. It's kind of, I've got some time, hopefully. So that was the way I saw it. And then I'd sum up that period of those first few months waiting for the prognosis and the results to come back as really quite terrifying. Very little sleep, lots of stress, lots of thoughts about, is this it? Am I not going to see my kids grow up? All those sorts of things. Horrible. But yeah, 3 months went past, I got the prognosis, and yeah, I was diagnosed with, thanks. Thanks guys, thanks for the support. And then got my prognosis, and I was like, okay, it's primary, it's grade 2, okay, let's deal with this. And I think one of the best things I did at that point in time, about a week later, I went on a 3-night silent retreat. And it's something I'd been practicing and as part of my life anyway. And I just took myself away from home and just had a few days just to kind of sit and reflect and absorb. And I think for me as a patient, that really helped with because I do psychotherapy as well, but this just gave me that space to absorb and just to accept as well. And I came back just like, that was early December by this point. I just came back home and back to, I don't know, just back really. I felt I was back after those 3 months. So my treatment started at that point. I was put on PEG interferon, and I've kind of defined it as 3 phases for my treatment, and put up my platelet chart to see kind of how it dropped down over time, and this is over a 3-year period. So I started on interferon, and I'd describe it as a kind of a controlling phase. So it was all about trying to work out what was the right dosage. So my consultant teams thought, okay, let's start at 90. Let's try that for 4 months, let my body adjust, see what happened. And it started kind of nibbling away and bringing it down, but not enough in their view and not fast enough. So I went up to 135 for about a month, same thing. A little bit of results, but nothing massive. And then the real kind of cliff edge was when I started on the 180 every week. And that really helped bring it right down, and brought it right down to about 550 or so. And for my body, I'm kind of trying to aim for anything between 500 and 600. That's the reality. I don't think I'm going to get it down to the kind of less than that right now. So we found that happy medium, and we went into kind of a refinement. That was the refining, trying to work out what's the right level of dose and what's the right frequency. During that time, kind of I think initially, as my body got into some sort of steady state equilibrium with the medicine, I was feeling very heavy in my limbs. I'd wake up at night and I'd kind of have my limbs just like concrete, or I'd have them tingling as well. I don't know if other people have felt that. But I think, yeah, it was a hard time. It was winter in the UK as well. It wasn't the best. But it's kind of by the time spring came, I had a spring in my step. It was all kind of manageable. I was seeing, yes, this is okay. And I was like, oh, actually, maybe I could just stop the interferon. And I tried to build it out to like 2-week intervals, and we tried that for a period of time. We could kind of see them going back up again. And like, okay, well, let's make it 10 days. And we've settled on 10 days now. And then I had a period of time, I felt so good that summer. I thought, oh, I'm gonna go for a new job. I was like, my current employer was awesome, and my past employer was really great. They were so lovely and caring, but I think, and I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, but they were too kind in a way, and they kind of didn't want to give me work, and they didn't want to put stress on me. And I was like, I've got to keep living. I work in strategic advisory. I want to be out with clients. I want to be kind of getting that energy, giving that energy, solving complex issues. And they were just being a bit kind and kind of just putting me to the side and not giving me projects. And I felt really, I don't know, just discriminated against in a way, I guess, in a positive, nice way. And I was like, am I just being silly? But I was like, no, I've got to make the most of every day. I need to really just do what I want to do. And I thought, okay, I'm going to move. So I moved jobs, and then I got really stressed. I felt vulnerable. I moved to this new company. It was a lot of systems. I was in a smaller company before. I'd been in like big hundreds of thousands companies before that, and big four, but then I went to a boutique, and then I went back to a kind of medium 30,000 people company, and it was a bit overwhelming, to be honest. And I felt really vulnerable having this condition, and that's not kind of me normally, but I felt I was on probation. I'd kind of maintained the medical private health cover, but at the same time, I was like, can I really say what I've got? Do I want to, like, I was clear in the recruitment process to my bosses, but I was like, can I really share it openly? I don't really want to be Simon with cancer again. I want to move beyond that, but then I also need to have support and for them to understand and empathize and kind of give me the reasonable adjustments and things like that. And I felt really kind of torn for about 6 months, and I can kind of see it as my platelets rose back up to that kind of peak. And then I kind of felt okay. It's quite interesting. About this time, I passed my probation about here, and then I kind of like eased up. I was like, okay, I can actually say who I am and what I've got and what I need, and they accept me for that. It's fine. And that's really good. And then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, just they started rising, my platelets started rising mid last year to the end of last year. And then in December, I was out for a walk with my son, who was on my shoulders. I was just having a coffee, walking the dog, and suddenly my eyesight went, and it went blurry, and I could see double for about 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And then I went home, kind of then thought, oh, I'll go for a quick run. And I lost all my power on my left side. I thought, okay, that was a bit weird as well, but I'll just shake it off. It might just be a bit of side effects from the interferon. It's okay. I'll do a bit of body tapping. It's okay. And then later I stood up and I had another kind of power down moment. I thought, okay, 3 things, that's a bit odd. And I realized and I kind of went into hospital and found out that I had a few strokes. So that's when it moved into the contain phase. At the time, being open with you, I thought it was like the beginning of the end. I thought I'm going to be starting hydroxyurea. I'm going to lose my vitality. I see all these kind of things, these preconceptions that we have. But look at us all. We look great. We're all on these things. But you have these things built up in your mind of what it is to be on chemotherapy and what it will be like. And I had it in my mind for about a week that it was the beginning of the end. But I've reframed that now as it's just the end of the beginning. It's just a new chapter. It's the new. And I've just got to go with that. And there's going to be these phases and stages throughout. And it's about, if I'm feeling okay right now, well, that's great. Just focus on that. How am I feeling right now? Not about how I'm going to feel in a week or in a month or how I felt last month. It's just about right now. And then, so I'm still on hydroxycarbamide and clopidogrel as well to reduce the clot risk because I had a clot in my neck. And I just put at the bottom my little formula. Just came up with that yesterday, so it's nothing that I really practice so much, but it's a bit of a loose thing. But really, I was just trying to think, okay, what are the key elements that I build into my daily life and my lifestyle to kind of give me that high quality of life and energy to get through this? And for me, Qigong is a massive part of my life. I was getting into it just before, but I've really doubled down on it, and I'm currently doing teacher training as well. I feel it's really beneficial for managing the side effects. It gets me up, it gets me moving, it gets my chi moving, and just releases things in the morning. And it's really gentle as well, so I'd highly encourage people to try it. My teacher, my guru is called Nick Loffrey. He's online, you can get free YouTube videos. He's really nice, he's lovely. Based in Canada. Running in nature is another thing, so I mentioned the running. Being out in nature, just being out in the world and experiencing cultures, experiencing nature just really nourishes me. Cold water dips, hence the photo. I like getting in cold water. It gives my body a massive shock in a good way. It kind of makes me really be present. You can't think about other things. It just brings you into that moment. And it makes you feel so good afterwards. So, and also encourage people to try it. Obviously, you might be like, oh, I don't like cold water, but it's all about the breathing. If you could just breathe through it, settle your body, and then just be in it and start getting through it. The glow you have afterwards is amazing. And I'm part of a kind of male community of cold water dippers in Bath in the UK, which is all about kind of bringing men together, similar age to me, 30 to kind of 50, 60, just to kind of talk about things and open up and do something together, which is really powerful. And we have like sauna groups as well, fire circles, all those sorts of things, which are definitely kind of a key part of what I do in my life and my lifestyle now. And then one thing I haven't touched on here is, like I mentioned work earlier, one thing I do is I take every other Friday off work. So I've kind of reduce my hours slightly or do compressed hours. And I use that every other Friday just for stuff that gives me joy. Like I'm the type of guy, like last month, just got in the car, checked the surf report, sun's out, surf's up, okay, pack a car, pack a tent. I'm camping in like October by the beach in Pearl's Earth. I'm surfing my guts out. I'm having like dinner on my own on the beach and having fires and just absolutely loving it. But I do that every other Friday. It doesn't always work, you know, kind of fit in life as well, but I try and do something that really gives me joy and building in that time into my diary. And my wife's fully supportive and she's great for that. But yeah, so I think a combination of all those things gives me that energy, gives me that kind of love for life and a desire to really just get on and enjoy it. And just one last thing, that since starting the hydroxy, my energy has come back tenfold. I feel like I haven't felt in years. And yeah, all those worries I had, I've put to the side. Obviously, there's the kind of progressing into something else. I don't like that thought and I want to stop at some point. But I feel great right now. So thank you all for listening. And yeah, happy to take any questions.
Okay, in the meantime, Lauren, she's online, so we're gonna join her.
Hi.
Hi, we don't see
Hello.
you. Hello.
I've got my video on, but I don't know if you can if you can see me.
Yeah, we can see and we can hear you. So welcome.
Oh, great. Okay. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be joining you this morning. Sorry, I'm at work today, hence the background. Yeah, I just had a chance to listen to some of what David was saying then. Yeah, I mean, is it most helpful for me to just outline first of all, kind of my story with ET, explain all that?
Yes.
Is that best? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We are waiting for your story.
Yeah.
A few minutes, please.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, my name's Lauren. I live in London. I've had ET for. So sorry. Trying to run a, like I said, slightly shonky setup here at work. I've had ET for 16 years now. I was diagnosed, because I'm sure it might be the case for lots of other people as well, that I've got more than one autoimmune condition. So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 24. And it was actually as a result of having regular blood tests for that, that they started to pick up on the fact that something was going a bit awry with my platelets as well. So that was how I found out when I was 29 that I had ET, and I had a bone marrow biopsy as well, which, yeah, as someone who had a needle phobia before being diagnosed as diabetic, to suddenly be launched into a whole other, very serious medical condition, and to have a biopsy and all these things, it felt like quite a lot. Since then, and I'm 45 now, since then I've been on just low dose aspirin, so I'm not on any medication as yet. But it is something that I'm actually in my most recent appointment with my hematologist last week that I'm discussing with them, because obviously type 1 diabetes raises certain risks, ET raises risks. I've also got high blood pressure because I've been going through a really stressful year this year. So with that overall picture, they are keen to at least start the conversation about going on to medication. And it's difficult to know how ET affects me, to be honest, because I do suffer from fatigue. I never know whether that's, is that the diabetes is that the ET. I get the horrible itching usually after I've been in the shower as well. So far, touch wood, that's about all the effects that I've had. But I'd say it's also complicated by the fact that I do shift work. So I do 10-hour days, sometimes starting at all different times, sometimes 6 a.m., like it was yesterday. Today was 7:30 a.m. So really long days. Fatigue is something that I really definitely struggle with. I was interested hearing David just then saying, sorry, I don't know if it was David, sorry, the person before me speaking, saying what works for them. I would say that running is definitely something that I've found helps me. I think any form of exercise where you're getting outside, I think getting fresh air, moving your body. Funnily enough, I also do cold water swimming as well. But I also find things like yoga, sound baths, meditation, those all really help me. I think through my experience with having multiple chronic conditions, I think I found, what you have to kind of find what works for you personally. Things are going to really differ from person to person, but with those core things of eating well. I mean, for me personally, I found that not eating meat works for me. Everyone's different. Keeping very well hydrated, having alcohol, but just in a moderate amount. But yeah, trying to get enough sleep, although that could be a struggle. Making sure I'm socializing, seeing friends, doing things that I enjoy. But the other thing that I found both with diabetes and with ET is just the power of community, of having peer support from other people who are in the same position as you are. So having the odd blood club on WhatsApp, knowing that there are other people, knowing that there are people on Instagram, other networks that you can tap into, have been really helpful, as well as MPN Voice in the UK. So that's kind of, I guess, my story up to date, is that just seeing what's going to happen with medication and just trying to live my life the best I can, really.
Great. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't want to talk because I'm too old for you. But I wanted to tell you a story. And it's my story. I was born in 1945, which is just after the Second World War. And my father, he was a doctor, general doctor. Well, in these days, you actually had general doctors. All this crap of specializing, etc., didn't exist these days. And when I was about, I don't remember really, maybe 10, 11 years old, my father told me, Peter, you have a problem in your blood, but I don't know what it is. There were no means of analytical, there were no literature about nothing, So he said, when you get starting 1920, once, twice a year, give blood. Go to Red Cross and, make a phlebotomy. And if you have headaches, take an aspirin. Which is, if you look at it at the end, this is exactly what you have to do when you have a PV. When you start with, you make phlebotomies and this. I didn't know that I had something wrong. I believed my father, obviously, but I said, okay, I was playing football, I was a fanatic football player in Switzerland. And I gave regular basis. I was always a very conscious blood giver. I always gave my blood to And in these days, this blood was reused. Today, if they make you a phlebotomy, they throw your blood away because it's bad blood. In these days, they pass it on to somebody else, so somebody else got my rotten blood. But it kept me alive, so I hope they will also be alive. I hope so, at least. And I had certain effects during my life. I had erythromelalgia. Erythromelalgia is very unpleasant. It normally starts a very strong pain in your feet, and it's climbing up here. I remember I had it several times in the airports when you're in a queue, and you had to wait for your passport control, and then suddenly it starts, and you know, oh no, now it comes. And I knew when I take an aspirin, it's gone. But you know, if you're sitting in a queue like this, it's difficult to take your, you use 500 milligram aspirins. I don't know if you know them, effervescent. You know, you put in water and it's filling up. It's not existing anymore today, I think. And that happened. I went to all kind of doctors, and I had a very good doctor in Switzerland, and he made all his tests and said, you know, you have to try this and that, and at the end said, Peter, you know what? If it goes away with aspirin, take the aspirin. I have no clue what it is. Only maybe 30 years later, my hematologist told me, if you have erythromelalgia, it's a sign, but you have an MPN. Must not be, but the chances that you have an MPN is very big. And then suddenly, when I don't know, maybe 35, I couldn't drink coffee anymore. Anything which had caffeine was gone from one day to another. And I said I was living in these days in Spain. I was working for a pharmaceutical factory, and we had the factory outside of Barcelona. And so, the factory was owned by 6 brothers, Spanish, all of them. 100% fun. I mean, I never had so much fun in work when I was with my Spanish people. And when we went to the factory, we worked in the morning, and then we went for lunch, and there was a huge, very big restaurant there. And, they gave you really old portions of food, when you asked for a rabbit, which in Spain we eat a lot of rabbits. You got half a rabbit on your plate, he was falling around the plate on the left side and the right side. And at the end, you had your black coffee, and you had a cognac, and you had a cigar. Which was, for me, when I said, not even 30 years old, which was, beautiful life. What else can you ask for? And I had to stop, because a little bit of coffee on my lips, and I felt bad. If I drink a coffee, half an hour, everything comes up again, which is probably because of a liver. I mean, and nobody knows today, but it's happened since then. I've simply no Coke, no coffee, nothing like that. So that was a sign that's coming on then. And I only found out when I have MPN, as usual, as most of us, when I was, I don't remember, 45 or something like that. I went to my physician in Barcelona. I said, listen, I have not been very nice to my body in my first 40 years. Why don't you make a checkup? See, how much damage did I make, And, again, as you know, but he called me. He says, Peter, come. And that always sounds bad. It's never good if you have to go to the doctor. And he said, well, your platelets are too high. I have to send you to a hematologist. But in the meantime, no pinching, absolutely nothing. Don't let anybody, give you an injection or whatever it is, until we have results. And then, they found out that I had a PV. There are more small details, but that's not so important now. These were all just different times, A bone marrow extraction was extremely difficult to make. And I had the bad luck that I went to a place and they had only one set of sterile documents, and it fell down. So it wasn't sterile anymore. So we had to wait for a new one. When the doctor, he was in a rush and he couldn't close the cut which they made. I ended up in a hospital to make a stitching together. But it was simply different, we didn't have all the support what we have now. MPN was a black hole. Nobody knew what it is, JAK2 wasn't known, because I'm talking for 1980 or something like that. It was known in 2005. What I want to say is, I took it as, it's like a shadow to me. The shadow is here. He won't get rid. I can't do anything. He'll always be here, but it doesn't hurt me. So, we got friends somehow, we understand each other and we try to live together. If you have an MPN, it's bad. I mean, for me, at these days, it was a blood disorder. It was not a cancer. It was a cancer only after the JAK2. That's when you get more money for your medicines, if you have a cancer medicine. And what I want to say is, be optimistic, because you will survive. I have it now all my life, and I'm still, thinking a lot about MPN. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of very bad cases of MPN. But somehow you have to understand that it's somebody else, it's not you. You have to make a division, especially when you're all somehow coming now in a group where you'll be working and you will have contacts with other MPN people. Try to separate. It's one thing is what is you, and one thing is what happens to other people. It's totally different. But when I was your age, I had it already, and I still have it. And I'm perfectly alive. I'm not playing football anymore. But the rest, it's all in order. I would say, I can eat. I cannot drink alcohol. That's a bad thing. But okay, the worst things. So that's what I wanted to communicate to you. Be positive. Take it as something. It's here. We cannot not yet rid of it. We have doctors, like here, physicians, which are working very hard to get a solution on that problem. We cannot do it. But, we can survive, and we can help other people. And if by doing that, you will make out of a bad thing, you made something positive. Because to help other patients is one of the nicest things which you can do in life. If you the days when I talk to a patient who is totally in a big hole and he cannot get out, you talk to him an hour, 1.5 hours, and you get him out of that. That's the biggest satisfaction which you can have. So everything in life which happens to you has a positive side, always. Just you have to find it. Look for it and concentrate on the positive side, yeah. I just wanted to thank you that you came. It's great. And we will talk, yeah. Thank you. ¿Una discusión?
Sí. Well, I can't say anything else. Well, actually, I can say maybe one thing. It's true that NPM, it's odd illness, but also I'm in your groups and I can read about all other patients, what they have. And we cannot forget that there are other symptoms that they are not related with NPM. So if we take only the NPM symptoms, is what Peter says, he's 80 years old, and I hope, and I think he's gonna be many years still here. And don't compare, because maybe if there is not good health in another ways, it's affecting more your symptoms. So just, as you said, Mari, you had these health problems and you have been working a lot with yourself. Keep on doing. Try to find your peace inside. And this is for all of us. I'm including myself because I also had my backpack, emotional backpack, and my emotional or problems backpacks during all my life, and I had to struggle also with health, mental problems, and so. And this is our responsibility to know ourselves, know what is happening, knowing why we are here with this illness, and just look at the illness and say, I'm not what you are, I'm a human being. And this gives me a power, because I can control the illness, not the illness is controlling me. Oscar, when we made the the webinar, you remember, we have been doing the interview, you said 3 things very, very nice. 3 yes, of the life. Do you remember them? Not really? Okay. One of them, you said that the illness is giving you the power for waking up every morning and see what you can do for your community. And this was heartbreaking me. I mean, it was so powerful. And I know that for you, the Chinese meridians are also very important, the meditation, the way you talk to yourself. And this is something that shocked me a lot, because it's a way that I think that we all have to do, and all we have to go ahead during the day. It's talking us good, respecting us.
Como yo. I am a smoker, so sorry.
Well, anyway, I want to say that you have to be very proud. You're very powerful, because if you have this kind of illness, it's because you have a lot of power and you can go over the illness. So make a big community, talk all together, affront all the problems together, and we can go flying everywhere we want. Okay. So now I would like to open the question and answers, and I would like to ask Professor Haifa if you want to join us here and make an open discussion. Yes? So I would like to start with something that we have been talking a lot or many times with Judith. These are these taboo topics. The taboo topics like sex, like going out at night, and all this. So, Professor Haifa, can you, or Judith, you want to start with one of these topics?
No. Okay, so one of my biggest problems that I have is menstruation, like the period. It's very painful, and I can wake up in a week. It's a lot of bleeding and pain. So my question is always the same: what can I do?
Well, this is a problem not specific for MPN. This is present in many young females, and I think you have to be treated like every other woman. Sorry, my sound is disappearing since last evening. Okay. Yeah, but you have to discuss this with your gynecologist without, sometimes if you are taking aspirin, the bleeding might be more. Yeah. But you should be treated like everybody else. And I think yesterday we discussed what are the symptoms related to MPN or not MPN.
My question is because when I talk about with my gynecologist about MPN, she doesn't know about it. So it's about anticonceptives and all of that.
Yeah.
It's
you
complicated.
We discussed this with you. They asked me because, as a hematologist, I don't know all the preparations and hormones and how much there is. Estrogen is quite not the best. Contraception with estrogen is dangerous because of the risk of thrombosis. But I know that there are new progesterone stuff. And so the gynecologist writes me what she wants to give. Right. For example. And then
with me, it was like that.
Yeah, and this is perfect.
And I use one, and I'm okay. Yeah.
And then I say, okay, I have no problem, and then you get the treatment.
And another question I always have is MPNs and alcohol, like going out and drinking, if you are on a treatment.
It depends. Interferon does have some liver adverse events, but it is always a question of how much you drink. So occasional drinking is no issue, even with ruxolitinib with Jakavi.
Okay, thank you. I will
Grapefruit is not that good.
I don't have a specific question, but I think it's part of the responsibility of bringing a topic, because yesterday you mentioned this new thing of the 50...
TSS 50.
Yes. So I think like one of the biggest concerns, and that in the WhatsApp group we have like very active conversation, is the topic about progression. So when we are talking about symptoms, I think it's kind of tricky in the young adults, because maybe we don't have a lot of the symptoms we will have in the future. So I think like with this type of new ways of categorizing things, it can be a little bit unfair for all of us that maybe we fear way more about progression rather than the symptomatology we have right now. So I just wanted to bring it again because I think it's something that it's one of the topics that are more repeated on the
right.
group.
This is a very good question, but it is not for ayahs only. It is a general. Symptoms, you know, this is subjective. I might have more symptoms, I might have less symptoms. The Chinese recently published the symptoms in ayahs and compared them to symptoms of non-ayahs. I would say non-ayahs. Because we always get heavy discussions. What? With 40, I'm not ayah anymore, or what? Yeah. And indeed, you said it, the symptoms generally are less in younger patients. Sure, more energy and stuff. But, and I think your stories have shown this very, very clearly, the impact, particularly on the social life, the impact on the mental life, although the symptoms are much less, the impact is much, much higher than what you would expect from the symptoms alone. And this is exactly what we discussed yesterday. So, you know, it is not the points of how much fatigue or how much concentration problems I have. It is the issue, how much does this impact my personal, social, and mental life? Exactly, this is the point. And this was a very nice publication, very recent, showing the discrepancy between symptoms and the impact of symptoms on life. Can you share that? Yeah, sure. I have the publication, I'll send it to Peter.
Thank you.
Because I just made a presentation in a German-speaking congress just 10 days ago about ayahs and their different needs, pregnancy and stuff like that, so I will share that with you. I wanted to share it, but you said no slides, okay. By the way, I just want to make, you said you are 42, or what is ayah and what is, it is a random definition. Adolescent means not yet adult, that's why adolescent, from 15 generally, and many of you said the magic 15. And then up from the age of 18, then you are a young adult, and the definition is just 39. But this doesn't mean anything, because we know that some patients, some persons, get the JAK2 mutation, particularly the JAK2 mutation, even if they are an embryo. There are very nice data to that. That means you already carry this mutation, and particularly the JAK2 is a not very strong mutation. It cannot cause the disease alone. It always needs a second hit. So maybe you get the second hit, we don't know exactly what the second hit is, maybe when you are 50, but you were still carrying the JAK2 mutation since your birth. You said it, this is an example, and we know that usually an average of 8 years between the mutation and the diagnosis. So, you know, nobody really knows when the disease started. Nobody knows that. It is the time, you know, you take the time when the blood test was done. Yeah. But this doesn't mean anything. And the question is, if I am 39 years and 364 days, and tomorrow I will get 40, will my disease change? The answer is definitely no. And here is Peter as the best example. An ayah remains an ayah for the whole life. This is very interesting. We have a project translational, because one of my patients, she's a medical student now, she finished, she was 19 when I made the diagnosis with her. And then her doctoral thesis, we made, you know, translational, meaning taking the blood and doing all the genes and how these genes are working in so-called ayahs and non-ayahs. And ayah, per definition, is the time of the diagnosis and not the time
That's
of
great.
now.
So I'm going to be young for life. Thank
Right.
you.
So exactly, we divided the patients in 3 groups. Where the diagnosis was made when the patients were 40 and above. Then those where the diagnosis was made even 30 years ago, but they were now mid-60s or 70s, and the true ayahs, they are still below 40. And interestingly, at the end of the day, the ayahs, even if they are 70, they still have some things, they remain unchanged from the very young people. And we know that one major complication, you said this, is thrombosis. The younger the patient, the more likely, because you know the life expectancy is much longer, so we have to take much more care to prevent thrombotic events. The second thing, you said it, progression. Because of the very, very long life expectancy, thanks God, the risk of progression is higher. And that brings us, I think, to the second question. You know, guidelines. Guidelines are not rules, and we just discussed this today in the morning. They do not, you know, they divide patients to low risk and high risk, which is totally stupid, based on the risk of thrombosis. You know, 60, and then you are high risk. This is stupid. Yesterday I was 59 and 364 days, I was low risk, and tomorrow I'm 60. Is your risk changing? No, it is not. So, you know, these are still several decades old, these classification. And the question is, this is quite stupid, should I always wait until somebody progresses? Should I wait until a thrombosis happens and then try to treat? And officially, it is still like this, low risk, watch and wait generally. And then when you get a complication, then we treat. But the question is, it is more logical to prevent. And now I think a lot of things are happening in our community from the scientific point of view to try to change this idea, to try to prevent and not wait for complications. So if you are 65, you have no problems, you have no cardiovascular risk factors, we know that the risk for thrombosis is very, very low. So why should I give this patient treatment? What? Yeah.
Basically, for a physician today, it's completely different like it was 40 years ago. I mean, when most patients were older people, you know, I got known when I was 50 or something, and then you have to, the doctor has to worry, how can I treat him so that he reaches the 80s? Today, with all the people what you have here, you know, they are 20 years old, so you have to find a medication.
For 60 years,
for 60 years,
70,
which
yeah.
we don't have. So, you know, how
We
you do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so,
yeah.
But, you know, and coming back to my story, you know, when I had to get medication, or when I knew that I had MPN, there were basically no medication available. You know, we had the old interferon, which was a disaster, and we had hydroxyurea. So what you do, you're trying much more time to stay on phlebotomies.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, there's a trend, but the physicians, most of them are young physicians, they immediately start to give a medication. Mm-hmm. I think it's, for me, I would have stayed all my life on phlebotomy if I could. I always wanted to have that because I don't have to take any chemistry. So that's better.
Yeah.
I know you come to a moment because of spleen and other problems, you have to take something.
Yeah, and when you progress, then it is
But
more difficult to bring it back.
But the earlier today we start with a medication, the earlier we come to the end of the possibilities of medications. What we have.
But we have to always think, what do we want to achieve with the treatment and what is the right point? You are fully right. I still have patients, young patients, even with the 60, the 60, 65, if they don't have symptoms, no thrombosis, no cardiovascular risk, we discuss together, should we really treat you, particularly calreticulin patients? We know that these patients, in the American guidelines, it is not age anymore for ET, but it is the mutation. If you are calreticulin, you have no thrombosis, then I don't need to treat you, and that's what we are doing. So I think today we are learning more and more to put a lot of puzzle parts together individually and decide what is the best. And always guidelines are always just to guide, but they're not a law. And you have really, I love MPN. I know for patients it's not that good, but it is always a challenge when I sit with a patient, because, and I tell every patient this, we have to see what is right for you and not just for the statistics. And it is always the trial and error. And you have, stories, and all the stories, I think. One patient finds interferon great, for the other it's not the best treatment. Ruxolitinib is the best for one, for the other it's not that good, and so on. Hydrea, even Hydrea is okay for a small group of patients. So it is very, very individual. And I put mostly in my presentations many, many hats, because, you cannot just, and your stories have shown it, and I think if we continue with the stories, it is so individual and so challenging.
Thank you very much. I think, what's her name? What's her name? Celeste. I think you had a question, yes?
Yes. I forgot to mention that when I was diagnosed, I was JAK2 triple negative. And then they test it once again, and they discovered I had a weird JAK2 mutation, which is called JAK2E180. And they found a second mutation, which is called TET2. So my question is, what are the possibilities, because I'm looking to get pregnant, what are the possibilities that my future kid will have these two mutations, and if there's any changes that I can do to prevent worse development on myself during pregnancy?
Yeah, this is good, because today we know, we discussed yesterday familial predisposition, and indeed we know that apart from the somatic classical JAK2 mutations, there is a group we call non-canonical JAK mutations. They are outside the classical mutations, and some of these are actually, inherited. And this is in separate families, and again, alone they cannot cause the disease. For you personally, if you are well controlled, we prefer always low molecular heparin. If any reason you are high risk, because abortions and stuff like that increases. And we try to give interferon if it is possible. And pregnancy is quite possible. It's very nice. We have many data in the meantime. The results, if the patient is well controlled, the mother and the baby, the results are comparable to the normal non-MPN pregnant baby. So pregnancy is definitely possible. I have one young lady. Huh?
Don't look at me.
We are not worried about your pregnancy. No. I have one very young lady, triple negative MPN, severe thrombotic events in the spleen, big spleen, and she does not tolerate interferon. And then she wants to get pregnant. She is on anticoagulation. And the first time when she said she wanted to become pregnant, she's on Xacrit. This is something we don't like for a very long time, because it increases the bone marrow fibrosis. Nevertheless, then she told me she wanted to get pregnant. So I told her, okay, thank you that you told me. I will now quit the job. Because this is, Then we thought, how could we do this because she had severe depression under interferon. So I switched her to low molecular heparin. This was okay. And then I have to give her cytoreduction because, you know, all the thrombotic events. And we started with interferon, very low dose, and very sporadic, every 2 days. So I just tried. It was a real challenge for me too. And we had the first baby. The gynecologist didn't understand that I wanted to have an intensive care because they said, this is a young lady. And I told them, nevertheless. And then after 1 year, she found it very funny and she wanted the second baby. And the baby is now, I think, 3 months. You know, I'd always say, I said it, I think, yesterday, this is my baby too, you know. So even in such a very complicated situation, you can have successful pregnancies. And for men, it's much easier, sure.
Well, I don't know. It's a question on that, though, for men and for other guys. Like, I was told that I shouldn't try and conceive.
Why?
Because I'm on interferon and hydroxycarbamide.
Hydroxycarbamide theoretically, but it is a theoretical.
Okay.
If you want to be 100% sure, you can go to genetics to have a counseling. But we know we had with this tyrosine kinase inhibitor like Rux, males at the beginning of the development, pregnancy and males and stuff and blah, blah, blah. But today we know that the risk is very, very minimal. And I always send the people again if I'm not 100% sure, but interferon doesn't play any role because we do it with the mother. So, no.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
So we will have next year many babies.
I think you get a new call. Haifa, can you help me? What about some more questions from your side, ladies? The lower part, I didn't say anything so far.
Well, I just want to make a comment with what you just said. It's very helpful. Like I've had actually, my mutation is CALR as well, and I've had 2 thrombotic events. My spleen is huge. My liver's really messed up, and every time I've asked a doctor for many years, I mean, I've been dealing with this for 15 years. Can I have kids in the future? Can we think about it? And everybody shuts me down. Like, no, it's too complicated. You're going to die, or the baby's gonna, you know, get it the same way. So it's very nice to hear it from a doctor.
You need to have a good doctor with a good experience, and I know that you in Barcelona have good doctors. Yeah. They, you know, it is really hard work for us too. As I said, I always say, tell me so I can just quit the job, but no. It is possible, and this lady was really such a big spleen, really, and yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for clearing that up.
Any other question? No? Okay, then I would like to come back. You want to? Sorry.
Sorry. Actually, I don't know how to use the word to ask you, but I have been pregnant when I'm diagnosed with ET. So my boy now is 6 years old, and I want to ask you: there is a way to know or discover if he had it too or no, the JAK2 mutation?
Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it. I said it yesterday. 2% of the normal population, you know, when the JAK2 mutation was first described, they wanted to see, as I said, it is not alone, never. It can never alone cause a disease. So they have examinations, 20,000, it was soldiers in the United States, and 2% of healthy, perfectly healthy men and women, they had the JAK2 mutation. We know up from the age of 70 years, around 10% of the people have some of these mutations. And the most frequent mutation is JAK2 mutation. And still these people don't have MPN. So, and on the other side, you have the triple negative. So, if you do know that you have the mutation, you will destroy your life mentally. You cannot change this. And you will not be able to do anything because this will be the devil. So I never advise doing a JEC2 mutational analysis unless there is a reason. Blood counts are not normal.
So I want to ask you, it's possible for him to have it, or
Yeah,
maybe
familial predisposition, and sometimes this is possible, but you have said 14% in an analysis, but again, on the other side, 86% have no family history. So without reason, don't do this.
Thank you. Well, actually, coming
Maybe,
back.
sorry, I have one very important thing to say to everybody. You know, 75% of the AYAs are calreticulin mutated, right? And we have seen it. Many are. Still, JEC2 mutation is in around 2/3, 10% are triple negative, but around 10 to 15%, 20%, up to 20% are calreticulin. And now we are in the era of developing, trying beautiful medications, particularly for the mutated calreticulin immunologically. We have to wait. In 2-3 years, this is, let's see, we might have even cure for at least mutated calreticulin. For the JEC2 mutations, we do have new medications as well. They are being now tested in humans, very specific for the JEC2 mutation. So in the next coming time, beautiful, new, really biological, immunological, no chemotherapy, the drugs are becoming more and more. And so, you know, this makes us optimistic. And you said it. It is terrible to have a disease. But, you know, without this disease, you wouldn't have known each other, right? No. The second point, you said it all. It is this appreciation, you know, of life, of friendship, what is really important and not, you know, the party X, I'm not getting it. So, you know, the value of life. You enjoy life much intensive and much more. Yeah, and so there are, as Peter said, many, many positive aspects. Yeah. And the future is good, really good. There's a question.
Okay, John.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Are you referring to the Inca 33?
Not only, but yes, Inca antibodies. There are bispecific antibodies also being tested.
Okay, if somebody wants to know more information, there's a nice article available about this. Come to me and I'll give it to you.
Yeah, the trials are going on, and particularly for the younger refractory patients. You know, we always start testing in a bad situation, but this is very, very promising, yeah.
Hello, Haifa. I have another question because I think it was mentioned on the video. She mentioned there was a second mutation found around the JAK2, and this is something else I have recently read, if I wasn't mistaken, that now more with the JAK2, they're finding a second mutation around that. So I was wondering if you have any kind of evolution or any studies you have found yourself.
Yes, we know that up to 20% of MPN patients, particularly the myelofibrosis patients, have additional mutations. And the question is always if they are inside the same stem cell, like the JEC2 mutation. For example, in patients with mutated calreticulin, because if you have effective treatment, you will kill also the other mutations. But yes, there are a group of mutations present in 20% of patients. Many think still that they might affect the prognosis, progression, but with the newer medicine and the ruxolitinib, interferon, their value is getting their importance is getting less and less. And we are all in the process of learning, because really the treatment landscape is so changing and very rapidly. This is great. So what is true yesterday is not true anymore. We discussed about the VAVs and the limitations. The same is true for these mutations. We do it, as we said, for every patient once per year, and we see these mutations. But today we still don't make decisions because we have to learn.
I have another question. It's about the stem cell transplant for young patients, because when I was diagnosed, they did to my brothers, and fortunately I have my older brother that is 100% compatible, but it's when it's like starting to think like you have to go to transplant, because in the groups of the global MPN, I see patients, for example, from Mexico. I think we will see her video, that is the same age as me, and they are telling her to do the transplant, and it's.
I think there will be a long discussion about transplant later. I think this is a long and complicated.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we'll do that later.
What we can do, as you mentioned, this patient from Mexico, this is what I want to say. We want to push and give the voice to Latin American patients. So we have one girl, her name is Fernanda, and we want to put her video because I think it's very interesting, the concerns she has about treatments and how to follow the diagnosis.
Hello, I'm Fernanda Peña. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and I was diagnosed with prefibrotic myelofibrosis in January 2020. I ended up in the ER in November 2019. From the start, there was a suspicion of essential thrombocythemia. Thanks to a bone marrow biopsy, my doctor was able to determine that it was actually myelofibrosis. It's been almost 6 years now. Last year, in 2024, I had another biopsy done. The results were exactly the same as the first one, thank God. And from day one, I've been treated with Hydrea and a few other medications like allopurinol and aspirin, and currently I'm on clopidogrel. Allopurinol had to be suspended because I started having side effects like numbness from the knees down. And after that, I started to take interferon every 15 days. And the idea was to stop Hydrea completely and stay only on interferon. However, the shortages caught both my doctor and me by surprise. And I imagine it did for everyone all over the world. So then I was on Hydrea and aspirin. They had to change my treatment in May to Hydrea and clopidogrel now, because with aspirin I started having daily nosebleeds, pretty strong ones. At that time, I was living in Canada. I was there from January to April. And when I came back to Mexico in early May to get lab tests done, my levels were normal. However, a month later, already back in Mexico and on clopidogrel, I think, not aspirin anymore, my platelets rose to 1 million. Then this past month, in September actually, I had tests done and they were still around 1 million, maybe a bit over. And then a month later, I took the tests again and they went down to 800,000. My Hydrea dose has been increased since my doctor suspects I might have developed resistance to it after 6 years. I can tolerate 4 capsules a day. 3 are too little. So I've been taking 3 times a week capsules of Hydrea, and the other days 3 capsules, along with daily clopidogrel. I've been like this for about a month and a half. 4 times, 4 capsules 3 times a week. And after a month, my count dropped by 200,000 only. There's a lot of uncertainty, honestly, because here in Mexico, we struggle every year. By the end of the year, there starts to be some medication shortages, especially in Hydrea. It's almost a pattern. And right now, since last month, I haven't been able to get Hydrea. Thank God I still have a reserve for about 3 more months. But, well, it's complicated. It's not too expensive. It's around 2,500 pesos, Mexican pesos. But one bottle lasts me less than a month, one bottle of Hydrea. So I have to buy 2 bottles a month, which adds up. It's a bit complicated. I get my medication through Mexico's public health system. And some people from the MPN group, I'm very thankful to them that I've found so much support and information after 5 years having it. I spent 5 years alone without knowing anybody with this disease. It took me a long time to find the group, and it was truly a blessing. Amazing people, great support, and constant information about symptoms that I thought were not normal, and apparently they are. And a lot of information that many doctors don't even know or don't tell you. And the information comes from all over the world, not just Latin America or Mexico, where doctors unfortunately don't have a lot of information. In the group, people recognize me because of my story, as I was diagnosed young and I have plans to get pregnant. The ideal medication would be interferon, but because of the shortages, even though it's available again in other countries, but in Mexico, there is a rumor that it wouldn't be restocked because it was originally used to treat hepatitis B, I think, and since there are now better medications, they decided not to acquire it anymore. It's a constant uncertainty for a young woman with MPN who wants to get pregnant. There's no information or testimonies, especially in Latin America or Mexico. So, with the situation the country is in, it will be a challenge. Thanks to the group, I learned that pregnancy isn't impossible. It's complicated. I'm totally conscious, but it can be done. When I heard about this conference, I wanted to share my story, how my life has been, and how my process has been since the diagnosis, and raise my voice as a Mexican and Latin American patient, as there's almost no information or support regarding this topic. Yeah, it's been very hard. I'm grateful for my family support, and my partner has been a key part of this journey from the start. I'm also thankful that I don't even have major side effects of the disease, just some petechia that turned out to be pigmented purpura, nothing painful, just cosmetic. Well, sometimes I feel tired, but not daily. I eat well. I drink 2 liters a day. I exercise, sleep well, and live normally. I know hard challenges are coming due to the global interference shortage, but I have hope that everything will go well and remain under control, and it can be a natural and controlled process. So, well, this is my story. Living with prefibrotic myelofibrosis with the same result for 6 years with my 2 bone marrow biopsies. And sadly, a person from Latin America, especially in Mexico, we are suffering as there is very little information and support from both doctors and patients, as it's not a known topic.
Okay, I think it's quite difficult. Haifa, you want to give any kind of message for
Yes,
this?
maybe to the Pegasus. We just talked to the company 10 days ago, and they said that it will be available again, because it was available for a very short time, and then it disappeared. I had this challenge with the lady I just talked to you. She wanted to get pregnant and no interferon. So we had really very hard, even direct connections to the company. This is a tip, by the way. If the pharmacy tells you, I know that there are people from BMS, but you know, have a direct contact to the pharmaceutical company. And indeed, they helped us, and we were able just to get, because we had to be sure that we can cover the whole pregnancy, you know? We cannot just start and then stop. So it will be available in this, as I said, 10 days ago they said it is available everywhere. And in case your pharmacy says it's not available or so, please have a direct contact to the company or the pharmacy. If they are good, then the pharmacy could do that for you.
In Portugal, I have it. Yeah. In the last day, I get 10. Yeah.
That's what I mean,
Yeah.
that they are now making it available, and I always give the patients the tip, I don't have to say this officially, but I don't care, always have a reasonable reserve. Because we never know, we have learned in the last years, you know, with all these supply chains, and I think this is a catastrophe for young people, for everybody, just not to have the medicine available. So I always advise to have a small reserve for at least 2-3 months.
Yeah, in case they can.
Even longer.
Okay, so I appreciate very much, Haifa, for your words. Guys, thank you very much for also your words. And I hope that we can grow together. Okay, so thank you very much.